Mr. Imhoff and Rabbi Bukta.
President Biden, Second Gentleman Imhoff, and to this, my beautiful extended Jewish mishpacha, I am deeply humbled to offer a blessing on this holiday. Hanukkah always falls in the calendar's shortest days, but for the Jewish people, the darkness came earlier this year, after Hamas's brutal slaughter and kidnapping of Israeli civilians on October 7th. And since that devastating day, it's only gotten darker, with many around the world justifying terrorism, normalizing anti-Semitism, with the pain of so many lives lost, Israeli and Palestinian, in this just but tragic war. The darkness has felt like the biblical plague, so thick that we can no longer see one another. But Mr. President, you have been a beacon of strength. The light good thing to say. The light of your moral clarity in your first speech on October 10th brought tears to our eyes. You've been a steadfast supporter of Israel's right to defend itself, a trusted and true friend of the Jewish people, and we are deeply, deeply grateful. And tonight, we gather in front of a symbol of our unbreakable bond. This beautiful menorah we light is not just in the White House, it is of the White House, built from actual timbers from this building, reminding us that the Jewish people have always been a part of the foundation of this great nation. And tonight, we are further blessed to be joined by 5 candlelighters, White House staffers, all descendants of Holocaust survivors, whose flames burn brightly in them. There's a Hanukkah commandment of Pirsum Hanes, of publicizing the miracle of light and showing our menorahs openly, although in times of danger we are permitted to keep them hidden. At a moment when so many people feel afraid, we thank you, President Biden, for enabling us to publicly light this menorah in the people's house, for creating a symbol of pride that reminds the entire world that Jewish Americans will always have a place here. It is a miracle we do not take for granted. I thank you so much for this honor. We now invite up Second Gentleman Imhoff, who will light the first flame and pass the candles to our candle lighters, and together our lights will banish the darkness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem ba'azman hazeh ma'otzu yeshuati lechana elishabeach tikon betefilati v'sham toda nizabeach le'tachin madbeach mitzaram nabeach az egmor b'shir mizmor Hanukkah tamizbeach az Zegmor b'shir mizmor Hanukkah tamizbeach. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Well, Rabbi, thank you, and thank you for your blessings. You know, thank you, Doug, and the staff for lighting this special White House menorah. As Doug said, that was from a piece of material from one of the beams in the White House. And I thought it's about time we had a permanent menorah here in the White House. And to all of you, this means so much to Jill and me and to Doug and Kamala that you're here. You know, I also want to thank, special thanks to my buddy, standing right here in the front, Chuck Schumer. Chuck's our leader in the Senate. He's a great leader. He recently delivered a powerful and historic speech, and I mean a powerful and historic, combating anti-Semitism. I encourage everyone to read it. Everyone in America should read it. Chuck, thank you, pal. You always stand up. The Talmud says what comes from the heart goes to the heart. That's the warmth and kinship I feel so deeply with the Jewish community. I got in trouble, got criticized very badly by the southern part of my state and some of the southern parts of the country when 35 years ago I said, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist, and I'm a Zionist. And by the way, you don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist. Hanukkah is a timeless story of miracles. Think about it. You know, from the Maccabees defeating one of the history's most powerful empires on an oil lasting 8 days was a miracle all by itself. The flame of faith that endures from tragedy to persecution to survival and to hope. That's what it survives to, survival and hope. But we know this year's Hanukkah is different. It's been 65 years since the deadliest day of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. 65 years. Most of you, and I got to meet with 5 survivors downstairs. That's why we're a little bit late. 5 survivors in each of the camps. I've taken all my children when they turned 14 years of age, my 3 children who lived and my 5 grandchildren. When they're 14 years old, I put them on a plane, I take them to Dachau because I want them to see. I want them to spend the day there and see. You can't pretend you don't know. Silence is complicity. Most of you know someone directly or indirectly, a family, a friend, is stolen from you, or wounded, traumatized, or called up in the reserves in this last attack in Israel. As I said after the attack, my commitment to the safety of the Jewish people and the security of Israel and its right to exist is independent. As an independent Jewish state is unshakable. Folks, were there no Israel, there wouldn't be a Jew in the world who was safe. Were there no Israel. Hold it down too. I make no bones about it. I've had my differences with some Israeli leadership. I've known Bibi for now 51 years. He has a picture on his desk of he and I when he was a young member of the Israeli service here, foreign service. And I was a 32-year-old senator. And I wrote on the top of it, Bibi, I love you, but I don't agree with a damn thing you have to say. It's about the same today. I love you. But look, it's a tough spot. Tough spot. We continue to provide military assistance to Israel until they get rid of Hamas. But we have to be careful. They have to be careful. The whole world's public opinion can shift overnight. We can't let that happen. We're working relentlessly for the safe return of the hostages. I've personally spent countless hours, and I mean it, probably up to 20 hours, with the Qataris and the Egyptians, the Israelis, to secure the freedom of hostages, to get the trucks in, to get the humanitarian aid flowing, to convince them to open the gate, to have El-Sisi make sure he opened the gate into Egypt. And there's a whole range of things going on now that are really very, very difficult. We've gotten more than 100 hostages out, and we're not going to stop till we get every one of them home. will continue to lead the world in humanitarian assistance to innocent Palestinian civilians. We'll emphasize to our friends, to our Israeli friends, we need to protect civilian life. And let me be clear, Hamas using rape, sexual violence, and terrorism and torture of Israeli women and girls is appalling and unforgivable. And you should, when I was there, saw some of the photographs. It's beyond comprehension. We all have to condemn such brutality without equivocation, without exception. I also recognize your hurt from the silence and the fear and for your safety, because the surge of anti-Semitism in the United States of America and around the world is sickening. You know, we see it across our communities in schools and colleges and social media. They surface painful scars from millennia to hate to genocide of the Jewish people. My dad was a righteous Christian, for real. My dad would come home from work. He was a well-read man, never had a chance to go to college. And he'd come home before he closed down the business he didn't own, but he managed to go back and close it. And the kitchen table the dinner table was where we had conversation and incidentally ate. My dad taught us about the horror of the Shoah. He talked about why we didn't let the ship in, why we didn't bomb the railroad tracks, and on and on and on. But I said, it awakened in me and my brothers and sisters and our children a sense, and our grandchildren, that this can happen again. Silence is complicity. Silence is complicity. As I said, that's why I've taken all of my children and grandchildren to Dachau and one to Auschwitz. Look, folks, we just met with Holocaust survivors downstairs, including a widow of a dear friend of the late Elie Wiesel, who taught us about the perils of indifference. I think that they experienced only to see what's happening today. It's been clear that our administration stands with them, arm in arm in arm. We're not going to walk away. We're aggressive. We're addressing and implementing the first ever national strategy to combat anti-Semitism, prosecuting hate crimes, addressing anti-Semitism in schools, increasing security around Jewish centers of life, and more. We're calling upon all Americans to make clear there is no place for hate in America against Jews, Muslims, or anybody else. I just want to thank Deborah Lipschitz, the Holocaust expert and the first American ambassador-level special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism around the world. It matters. You know, in this moment, we must hold to the core values that make us Americans: equality, justice, freedom, dignity, respect. Values that, from the inception of our nation, have shaped the culture, the contributions, and the values of Jewish Americans, including all of you, including nearly 300,000 Jews who peacefully rallied on the National Mall last month with enormous pride, unity, even joy in the face of extraordinary pain. You embody what the late Rabbi Jonathan Sacks said: a people whose capacity for joy cannot be destroyed itself. It cannot destroy itself. It's indestructible. Let me close with this. You know, after October 7th, my father returned to his kibbutz to salvage what he could from his home. What was left was in the rubble and ruin. The home, which he had hidden in with his wife and his daughter for 20 hours before being rescued. A home in the same neighborhood where his beloved son was brutally murdered. Unlike the ancient Hanukkah story, buried piles of shattered glass, burned debris, and bullet-riddled walls, he pulled something from the ashes fully intact, a menorah. That's now on display in the foyer of this White House, your house, just outside this room. He gave it to the President of Israel, who lent it to the Ambassador Jack Lew, a symbol of the Jewish people that not only survived, but healed, rebuilt, and continue shining their light in the world. A reminder to hold on to the miracle of hope and faith. Because when we do, no night is so dark we can't find light. No night is so dark we can't find light. No one knows that better than the Jewish people. So, ladies and gentlemen, happy Hanukkah and God bless you all.